Yeah, this is going to be a good one, ladies and gentlemen. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're here. It is Monday, May 4th, 2020. You know the drill. We're going to cue the music. After we cue the music, I've got my friend, legendary, iconic NBA coach, Jim Cleamons, in the house with us tonight. So we're going to have a good time. Let's have a little music. Yeah, Coach, you didn't know me like that, did you? It's live TV, Coach. We're going to do it.
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Coach Scott Fields. Welcome you to another exciting edition of the Coach Scott Fields Show. Before we get started, I just want you to know, keep the comments coming, keep the questions coming, hit the reactions, and share this content. Also, subscribe for free to the YouTube channel, the Coach Scott Fields Show. Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored, and it is a privilege to have such a champion on the show with us today, coming to us from Columbus, Ohio, Coach Jim Cleamons. Coach, how are you and how are your family?
We're doing fine. Thank you very much for asking. Trying to live the new norm, get adjusted to it, and thank God that our kids are with us, and they've been with us for almost 2 months now.
Yeah.
Everything's good.
Yeah, so the silver lining is we all get to slow down and enjoy that family time that we as coaches, when we're in the thrust of it, we don't get to do that too much, but it's a good thing.
Well, it's very interesting to hear other people's comments about and commentary about how busy you are and how much you miss. And you're saying, well, damn, I think that's why I'm doing all this. You know what I'm saying?
That's exactly right. Well,
Yeah.
And of course, you had family members get you all set up technology-wise today, and they did a great job, so thank them. Coach, let's get right into it. For the younger generation who may not know, the millennials who live on YouTube, Coach Jim Cleamons played at Ohio State, was drafted number 13 in 1971 by the LA Lakers, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you played for the Lakers, you played for the Cavs, you played for the Knicks, and you played for the Bullets, and had a great career. And let's talk about that first, because growing up, you grew up in North Carolina, didn't you?
Well, I was born in North Carolina, and at an early age, we moved to Columbus, Ohio to be, I'm gonna say, closer to other family members, but more importantly, Scott, it was for social, educational reasons that my family decided to make the move. I'm the middle child between two sisters, and yeah, they just wanted us to have a better chance at life, to be honest with you.
Wow. All right. Great. And then, of course, you play at the Ohio State University, the Buckeyes.
Well, I had a wonderful time at Ohio State, and back in the late '60s, State didn't have the reputation. Well, here you go. They were national champs in 1960.
Okay.
And then they lost 2 years in a row to University of Cincinnati beat them. And so basketball at the university was still a very hot commodity, but there weren't a lot of people, and we were all familiar with the team. And if someone had told me in the 6th or 7th grade, or even late into my high school years, that I was going to attend Ohio State on that athletic scholarship, I would have been very thrilled. But I was wasn't even the best player on my high school team, which I'm very happy to acknowledge that we had a dynamic duo, and I was the wingman, the gentleman that the very best player was first team All State here in the state of Ohio, and I'll tell anybody to this day he could go.
Okay, so you were the Robin to his Batman.
Absolutely, absolutely, and happy to be that, but and happy to be Robin.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we had a nice thing. We had, well, I just have been blessed. First of all, first and foremost, I had a wonderful. I didn't play middle school basketball. We had a team called High Y, and High Y was basically for those players who weren't good enough to play on the middle school team, and they got cut, played on the High Y team. Well, I didn't even go out for the middle school team. I'm gonna give you all this background.
Yeah.
Well, because it's very interesting. It sets up a lot of what we're going to talk about. And the background is that I promised my mother in the ninth grade, I knew I wanted to go to college. And I had to take, well, I thought, and my older sister took typing. I wanted to take typing, and I carried papers. So I promised my mother if she would buy the typewriter, I would pay her back through my paper route money, the price of the typewriter, and therefore the paper route was right after school. So to pay my mother back, I couldn't go out for the basketball team because the basketball team played after school, practiced after school. So my resource to pay my mother back financially would be gone. So I didn't even go out for the team, but I did go out for the High Y team because the High Y team practiced in the mornings, and they only played one day a week, and that was usually on Thursdays.
Okay.
I found somebody to substitute my route, pay my mother back, and therefore that was the beginning of my basketball career.
Wow.
And after the ninth grade year, I carried the early morning paper. I was up at 4 o'clock, 6 days a week, carrying the early morning paper, and I found a way then to put $1 or $2 in my pocket, and took some anxiety out of asking my mom for money, and because I was very resourceful. I cut grass, shoveled snow, washed cars, helped clean out basements.
Wow.
Well, once again, when you have certain goals and you need resources, and because I carried papers, people would ask me if I knew someone, and I'm thinking to myself, I know me.
Yeah, that's right. That's exactly right.
Well, you say, well, hey, what time can I help you out? And they trust me. I was a friendly face, and that's the way I made my extra spending cash all the way until I carried papers until the first day of school, my senior year, because I didn't want to go through high school senior being the paper boy.
Yeah, gotcha.
It was I guess an ego thing for me, but also it taught me. I watched my older sister, who before me, about the senior dues, prom, all the little extraneous things I thought I would need pocket money for. I learned how to budget my money.
Yes.
And so it worked out fine. And my uncle would let me borrow the car, and the only thing that he would ask me to do is wherever I got the needle, when I got in the car, make sure that's how much gas he had to go to work. And so it gave me some responsibility, and I tried to. In our household, the rule of thumb was they'll give you just enough room to hang yourself.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So you didn't. Oh. So when that net got tight, you got to take some pressure off. So don't do that. And yes. Being the only boy in the family, I wanted my parents to to be able to always the thing was can we trust you? So I learned early on that my word was my bond, And I didn't want to disappoint my mother. And I had three parents. I had my mother, my auntie, and my uncle. And I didn't want to disappoint them. And so that was the way I grew up.
See, Coach, I love hearing that, because what I hear is the discipline. I hear the hard work. There was zero entitlement. You didn't expect something. And when you worked hard for it, then you can take ownership in it and be proud of it. So that's the lessons that I'm hearing from this, because now with the younger generation, I believe there's so much entitlement where so many people want something for nothing. And it's too bad, because I grew up in the Midwest also. Now, I didn't have a paper route, but when the summertime came along, my thing, I was out in the middle of the cornfields detasseling corn and deroguing the weeds from the rows of the corn. And man, I'd come back with blistered hands and have to play a baseball game that night. But that's what you did to try to get a little extra money. And then, of course, trying to mow the yards and do other little things too, to try to get you a little extra pocket change. Because when you wanted to take your lady friend out, you didn't want to have to ask for that money.
Well, that's touche, as they say.
There you go. There you go.
Well, it's just the way we grew up. And see, baseball was my best sport. See, my earliest remembrances that my parents were divorced when I was really young. I wasn't even 3 years old. And as our family tree goes, my older sister is 18 months older than I am, and I'm 17 months older than my baby sister.
Wow.
And my uncle, who was my surrogate father, would work, and he'd come home and he'd get the ball in the glove. And I was going to be, and I was left-handed pitcher, and he sit down in his catcher's squat, and he showed me his catcher's mitt. And my thing from my earliest remembrances was hit the mitt, hit the mitt, hit the mitt. And
yes,
that gave me the hand-eye coordination to continually throw the ball. And I learned at what point of release the ball, I was really a wild left-handed pitcher. I mean, and the better the batters I got older, the better the batter got, the wilder I got. Because I ain't like anybody that who could dig in.
Yeah, okay.
I want you loosey-goosey, because I didn't want anyone to think that they could hit me. And, and so therefore, and I was really legitimately wild, because I couldn't control being left-handed. As the ball rolled off my fingers, and depending on how I gripped the ball, my ball would do some crazy things. And he said, and I remember very vividly one day, this guy told me, I struck him out, and he went back to the bench and said, he ain't got nothing but a curve. And the thing is, my uncle wouldn't let, I promised him, I didn't throw my first curveball until I was after 16 years old, because guys were throwing their wrist out, trying to throw the curveball. But the way I found out early on, if I gripped the ball going across the seams or going with the seams, or even holding them tightly, that my ball would do different things.
That's
and
right.
I loved that.
Yes.
I couldn't even tell you what my ball was going to do. I just knew the ball would move, and if he thought I had a curveball, so be it. I had a hell of a curveball.
There you go.
The only thing I do, I'm throwing hard as I could. I'm throwing the ball straight. And once I got to the 10th grade, I had a coach, and he worked on my form, and I became I wasn't sidearm, and because Sandy Koufax and Don Drysdale, I was an old Dodger fan.
Yeah.
They were my pitching idols. And so Sandy Koufax was, he had that over the head come down, and when I let that ball just roll over, that ball would just do some crazy things.
Yes, sir.
And I took credit for it, but I didn't know what the hell I was doing.
Oh, no, see that? I think that's great, because I was also a pitcher too in the little leagues and minor leagues, and doing the same thing. Sometimes I'd throw with the seams. Sometimes I'd come across the seams. Right. Now, I'm not a lefty. I was a righty, but yeah, it would do different things. And my dad was my youth league coach, and he was always on me, just aim at the mitt. Don't pay attention to nothing else. Just aim at the mitt. So I hear you with that same laser-like focus. Oh, I love you. It reminds me of when hear you tell the stories. I feel like I'm watching a scene of Bull Durham. Hit the
That's
mascot. Oh, that's
absolutely.
good stuff. I love it. Well, Coach, you're talking about your childhood, talking about your love for baseball. You know, you get into playing basketball at Ohio State. You go on to have an illustrious career, and then did you play two sports in college, or was it just basketball, or did you do basketball and baseball, or?
No, gets into another story.
Okay, love it,
uh,
love it.
uh, Ohio State had very good baseball. Marty Carew. In fact, the baseball was probably better known in Big Ten, and because they were continually playing for national. So my freshman year, I didn't do well academically, and I was over in the field house, and that's where the baseball team we all got our equipment. And Coach Marty Carew said, "Can I talk to you?" And he says that he kept saying, I keep getting these phone calls and asking me, why aren't you playing baseball as well? And
Ah.
so I said, well, Coach, you haven't seen my grades.
Okay.
And I said, well, basketball is paying my way. And my grades right now, I have to concentrate. But I said, he said, well, if you wanted, he didn't say change, but if things don't go any better, he offered me an opportunity to come out for the baseball team. Because and I don't know who he was talking to in the neighborhood. He didn't say, but for a team, once again in the Big Ten that was always up in the higher echelon, for him to take those phone calls and then come and I don't think he searched me out. I think it was just a happenstance meeting to invite me to, if it didn't work out in basketball, to have an opportunity to come play some baseball. I'll be honest with you, I was flattered.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Great stories. We're hearing how Coach Jim Cleamons started his foundation, started that hard work to become who he became, which was a championship player, because you won a championship with the Knicks, I want to say in 72. Does that sound about right?
With the Lakers in 72.
Lakers, yeah, sorry. Lakers
Yeah,
in 72.
We beat the Lakers.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
So you win a championship as a player, and then you win multiple championships with both the Bulls and the Lakers, being an assistant with Phil Jackson. And Coach, I got to ask you this. Here we are. So many people are mesmerized on ESPN right now with The Last Dance.
Mm-hmm.
What feelings do you feel? Because you danced that dance with the Bulls franchise before it was dismantled. What emotions do you go through, and are you watching it?
I've watched I haven't watched it this week.
Okay.
I normally, on Sunday nights, the TV belongs to other members of the family.
Okay.
And my daughter tapes it, and I usually watch it on Monday mornings.
Okay.
And I've been busy all day today, so I haven't watched the ones that aired last night. So
yeah, 5 and 6.
Mm-hmm. So I'll catch up with those either tomorrow or later on this week. It's a different perspective, to be honest with you, because having lived that time.
That's right.
And knowing how the team was assembled, mm-hmm. and what we were trying to do with the personnel that was available to us, and how Phil wanted to grow the team. It was it's very interesting to see the effect it's having on the basketball market and fans through the eyes of this. But
it's a different perspective for sure.
Well, the thing that I was telling somebody the other day, it doesn't show the work behind the scenes.
Right.
See, once again, it's not like you walk over to the TV and you turn it on. It's the hours. What I had real fun with, because I was the youngest member of that coaching staff. And now, well, Tex is gone, Johnny Bach is gone.
Yes, yes,
And
sir.
so, you know, I always told people I was the junior member of the, if we were a law firm, they were the senior members, and I was trying to, you know, it was my comeuppance. You
Yeah,
know,
sure.
When Phil offered me the job, I was head coach at Youngstown State University, and I took the interview because the interview was offered to me,
Mm-hmm.
and not knowing where it would lead. I had a good team, in my opinion, coming back to Youngstown State. And I know that they were coming to Youngstown because of what their vision and my vision. And I finally had some team members and personnel that I thought I was going to get a chance to. After 2 years, two very poor seasons, I finally had what I thought was going to be my breakout year.
Yeah.
And I get offered the job in Chicago. And I called one of my coaching buddies and told him my dilemma. And because I know why those young men chose to come to Youngstown State. And if
Sure.
I accepted the job, I felt like I was betraying them.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I thought about it, and it's been one of the toughest decisions I've ever made in my athletic career,
I
was to
bet.
leave these young men to take the job in Chicago. And but also, as looking back upon that decision, it um, career-wise, it certainly was the best decision I could have made.
Wow. And see, I'm glad you touched on that, because I don't think people realize the emotion and the hard work that goes into building a college program to get it to where you want. And like you say, you're recruiting these players in, you've gone into their homes, you've talked with them, you've met them, you sell them on the idea of what your vision is and how you're trying to build a program. And then to have to juggle between, oh my gosh, this is a great opportunity for me professionally, but yet I've got these guys coming here because we've brought them here. So I'm glad you touched on that, because it also shows too your character and your heart and what kind of person you are.
Well, I think that you know, when you start talking about life and you start talking about sports, the character of the person or persons that you are talking about is it matters. It
Yes, it
matters
does.
where you start and where you end up. And I tell people oftentimes, talent gets you beat, character makes you winner. And so one of the things that I was very happy, see, when I broke into the college game, I was at Furman University in Greenville, South Carolina.
Yeah.
And that year, the year I was down there, we played North Carolina, and they had a young, I want to say freshman, if I'm not mistaken, by the name of Michael Jordan. And
I think I've heard that name before.
And I lost track of him because people were talking about how good a player he was going to be, and then all of a sudden I went to the college, and Michael's career went that way, and I got busy following high school players. And Michael, when I took the job in Chicago, I tell people the story. I did not know that Michael Jordan was Michael Jordan, because I'd only seen him play the one game. Furman and the Citadel had this weekend that they played North Carolina and North Carolina State, and we played North Carolina State, and then the following night we played North Carolina. We switched, and that was it.
Yeah.
I got busy in my life, and Michael obviously got busy in his.
Yeah.
So that when I came back to the pros, you know, I all of a sudden in Chicago, which was kind of, the Bulls had a good team, but they couldn't get past. Well, in those days, Boston and Detroit. Boston was where Detroit was trying to get, and Detroit and Chicago hell, they were trying to, Cleveland had a good franchise. The East was tough.
That's right. Yes, it was.
And so once again, I'm following college, high school kids, trying to get them to come to Youngstown State. So that's where my focus is.
That's
And
right.
then when I sat down and talked to the Bulls about the job, and then they actually offered me the job. Then my span and tension then went to what I needed to do to become a good professional coach. Because I'd never had coached pros until Phil offered me the actual job.
Yeah.
And then I told him I didn't want to just be looking at talent. I wanted to actually have a coach. I want coaching duties. I
Yeah.
wanted to be able
Those
to,
responsibilities. Yeah.
well, because to me that's the lifeline of any coach is how well you take the reins I can remember to this day, Johnny Bach and I went up to Providence, Rhode Island, my first scouting trip. And Johnny showed me how what he looked for, talked to me how he looked for, showed me how he divided his paper up in terms of possessions and how he kept track of the substitutions when they came in. I mean, all of a sudden, I said, this is beyond X's and O's. It's the prep work. We got to the game about an hour ahead of time. We sat down and chit-chatted. We watched the guys come out and do their pregame, and we talked about personnel. And so there's a science behind everything that you do.
That's right.
And that preparation of, once again, just getting ready to scout your game. And then,
yes, sir.
Then Johnny would talk to me about each possession. Like he'd have the game divided up into quarters, and then at the end of the quarter, he count the possessions. How many possessions were half court? How many transition attempts? Who did what? And then so it was a whole science.
Yeah.
Because I just didn't want to be a scout. I wanted to be a coach.
That's right.
And so how does one affect the other? And so Johnny broke me in, and it was
that's so neat.
So there's just wonderful experience.
There's those details coming in that we're talking about. The attention to detail, and you're picking it up. You're learning. You're getting your chops. And I mean, you had a front row seat, and you're on the hardwood daily with a Michael Jordan. What did you see? What impressed you the most about the tangibles that Michael brought to the game?
Michael's just a competitive person.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that was his challenge, was how to get his teammates to see that I'm going to use the word driven, but driven in the sense that, hey, now I'm the same way. If my long story short, my mother played basketball, but my best sport until I'll say I was a better baseball player than I ever was a basketball player. Okay, and that's the truth, because baseball to me was an individual sport.
Right. Yeah.
Even though I was left-handed, I played every position except catcher. All right. In the days that I didn't pitch, I either played first base or I played, and I love center field. Willie Mays, and I was a kid growing up. Willie Mays was my hero. After Jackie Robinson retired, boom, and I was a center fielder, and that was it. But the point being, I never beat my mother playing basketball.
Wow.
Okay, but then again, I don't think it wasn't a game that she wasn't going to let me dominate. It's, once again, you earn your rite of passage. And I didn't have, and I didn't like the game of basketball because, see, I didn't physically grow until I was in the ninth grade. I was the smallest person in my family till the ninth grade. My sisters, who, like I say, are 17 months behind me and 18 months in front of me. My sisters, because girls grow faster than boys.
Yeah.
I didn't get my growth spurt till ninth grade. Ninth grade, I finally got to be about 5'7", 5'8", 5'9", and thank God I grew in spurts. I didn't grow all at once, so I kept what coordination I had.
Yeah, the motor skills.
It grew along with me.
Yeah.
But Michael was just a competitive person. He did not like to lose. And I tell people, if I'm playing tic-tac-toe with you, I'm not playing tic-tac-toe to lose.
That's right.
If we play checkers, so I'm playing checkers to win. We playing cards, so I'm playing cards to win. Michael's cut from the I understood
same
Michael.
cloth, the
Right.
same cloth. Yes,
Right.
sir.
So once again, and then when you win, you get a chance to talk trash. Well, because once again, you're the winner.
That's right.
And if you don't win, you can't talk trash because you lost.
Yeah.
So once again, that's the rite of passage, at least in my neighborhood. If you win, you get a chance to talk. If you can't, if you don't win, guess what? You got to sip it out.
That's right. You can't back it up. Hey, that's all it is just talk.
That's right. So that's the way I grew up, and I like to win. I like to compete. Now I realize sometimes because baseball, we were probably the worst baseball team in our league, because basketball and football were bigger sports in my neighborhood than baseball. So I didn't get a chance to talk a lot of trash on the baseball diamond. Other when I pitched, and I took that personally, and I became a better pitcher once I realized I have infielders. I gained faith in my infielders that I didn't have to try and strike everybody out. That my infielders could feel the base, could feel the ball. That the routine infield ground ball they were going to feel. They going to make the nice pig from short or third to across to the first baseman. Boom. So once I got feeling with them, I could trust them. And here you go, the word trust.
Yeah, there. I see some parallels there.
So this is what happened. And I once again, my first year, I didn't know Michael. So my first, in fact, I didn't know anybody on the Bulls team until I was already hired, and I hadn't seen them play before I was offered the job. The Bulls flew me from Youngstown out to Los Angeles. They were in the summer league.
Oh yeah.
And so we watched a couple of summer league games. Tex and Phil coached the game. And then after the game, we talked. They flew me out for a weekend. And before I came back on Sunday, they offered me the job, and then they told me to think about it and let them know. Well, I knew no one on their summer league team. I just knew that they had a game. I think they won one, lost one. Well, it didn't make any difference. I was just there to observe the talent. And I didn't know what position within the coaching staff I was going to fill.
Gotcha.
See, I didn't learn any of that until we went back for fall camp. And after I accepted the job, I told them I was going to take it. I moved to Chicago at the end of August, the 1st of September, in preparation of finding an apartment and getting settled. And then I met the staff in its entirety and found out what our duties were going to be.
There you go.
But it was deep, because Scotty was not the Scottie Pippen that ended up being one of the best 50 players in the history of the game. Yeah.
Well, again, Robin to Batman, as you said earlier.
So these are things that, once again, as you look back, and one day I hope to put pen to paper and write my feelings.
Yeah. Wow.
And not only what I observed, but why I think that we were successful, and because the end, was the championships, but how we got the process is just that I think is the real mastery of what that era of basketball was about, and the people that enabled us and themselves to fulfill these childhood dreams that now are becoming legendary.
You bet. Ladies and gentlemen, we got Coach Jim Cleamons on here with us. I'm Scott Fields, the host of the Coach Scott Fields Show. Keep those reactions coming. Keep the questions coming. Keep the comments coming. Share this content. Very insightful. Coach Cleamons has taken us through a journey through his childhood, and then just now getting into with the Chicago Bulls and his observations of a young Michael Jordan, a young Scottie Pippen. Coach, with that process of building that team, because I heard parallels like between you and your competitive nature and MJ and his competitive nature, you playing basketball against your mom out in the yard. You had MJ who was playing against his brothers, getting beaten up constantly. So I see parallels there. So I know you had to have great rapport and understand and build that trust and that relationship with MJ to continue to work with him. But how was that dichotomy when you now all of a sudden you've got Dennis Rodman who comes in, you've got Scotty there. So what was that like with those egos? Because just like in episode 3 or 4, they talk about, Phil says, hey, yeah, Dennis, you can go ahead and take 48 hours. That was load management before it was ever called load management. But that trust, knowing what was going to happen, it manifested into championship. So what was that like to see that firsthand and all that going on behind the scenes, behind the curtain?
Well, a lot of this, actual conversations, I didn't have privy to.
Yeah.
As my memory recalls, we were in a staff meeting, and there was comment that we had an opportunity to get Dennis on the team. And
great defender, awesome rebounder.
yeah, and Phil, conversation certainly won't be verbatim.
Oh, for sure.
But the fact is, Phil thought that there was something the way Dennis played, the way he played, that Phil just in his heart of hearts thought that there was a connection, and Dennis was not the person that the media saw, and wanted. I'm not going to use the word. He wasn't the person that the media projected to be.
Yeah, right.
He was deeper. It was more to Dennis than what he projected.
You bet. I think that's a great way of putting it. Yep.
And because of what Phil's sense or what he had learned regarding Dennis, and one of the things that I'm really probably most proud of is the way we treated our players.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of coaches treat their players as if I'm going to use the word servants, or they. But I think there was in our relationship.
I think that's the key word there, relationship.
Right. There was from day one, it was shared ownership.
There you go.
You could be the best coach in the world, but if you didn't have a working relationship with your players and that wasn't reciprocated back and forth, you had dialogue. Yeah, I'm asking. Well, the first day, one of the things I took, and I even do and ask. I tell some of my other friends that go into coaching. I said on the first day of camp, once we met, we asked them permission to coach you.
That's right.
And he said, yes, if you're gonna give us permission to teach you, and and people ask me what I do, I tell them I'm a teacher. I'm not a coach. First of all, I teach the game of basketball.
Love that. Yes, sir. I'm with you.
And we ask them to give us permission. And if you do that, step forward. If you don't give us permission, then right, it's going to be more difficult, because there's resistance there, and we don't want resistance. We want an open canvas. We want to have the opportunity, and M's a good example. We used to do these wing denials of one beginning of training camp. You do all these drills.
That's right.
And so on strong side, you deny the entry pass, and then you we had a thing called point your pistols. One
That's
hand
right.
point to the ball, the other hand point to your man. And so at some point in time, you lose sight of one or the other. And so when you lose sight of the man, you have to find the ball. So you have to open up. And now you see the ball, then you come back to where the man is.
That's right.
Michael had learned in North Carolina not to do that. Michael would just turn his head and look the other way. And he said that's the way Coach Smith taught him. And so guess what? That's the way he learned. So we didn't worry about aesthetically how it looked, or he wasn't doing the way we wanted the drill to do it the way you can do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah.
So there was always some
There's
give
that
and
trust
take.
again. Yeah.
Right. How do you get the job done? My mama used to say, and my auntie, there are more ways to skin a cat than taking the fur of his head.
There you go.
So,
yeah.
So who cares? It's the results that we're interested in.
Yeah.
So if you have the better mousetrap in this drill, or this is the way you're more comfortable with, hey, do it. So we're interested in results, and I think the guys realize that that's the way. And there's sometimes you talk to people in a way that is to meet the meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And so and as a teacher, right, if you want respect, you have to give respect.
Amen.
And so,
Amen to that.
And so many players always looked at the coaching staff as being adversarial. And then you talk about coming together. Well, it's like I remember when I was a kid, my mama will always beat me for the old and the new.
There you go.
I said, well, pick one.
Yeah.
Don't beat me for both of them.
Oh, wow.
So she would whip me for the things I did. And she also will whip me for things I'm going to do in the future. I said, well, Mama, pick one.
Yeah.
But
wow.
So always, keep the lines of communication open.
That's right.
And when you make a mistake, correct that mistake. And there's a right way and a wrong way to correct the mistake.
That's right. Again, you don't have to make it demeaning. Just have dialogue, share your knowledge. They've already taken ownership. They said you could coach them. So I love that point, Coach.
Yeah. So those are the things that teaching and things that I learned through basketball. And once again, these are just life skills.
That's right.
They're not basketball skills. They're life skills.
Amen. Amen. Well, I think back to, because you and I used to sit at the NBA Summer League, and we would sit there on the baseline and talk and share knowledge and stories. And sometimes they're along the sideline. And I used to just always love sitting there, sharing your knowledge and expertise, because it was fun to just talk basketball. And, then of course, you win the championships, the last dance is over. You also go to LA. What was your first impression of Kobe? Not to compare Kobe and MJ, because I'm not going, that's not fair. But what did you see from Kobe when you absorbed him and his talents and the things that he brought to the table right away? Because again, another competitive person.
Well, I think Kobe is or was as competitive as Michael.
Yes.
Kobe wanted to be the best. I think that was his goal. So at the end of your career, where do you want to be ranked? I think that was important. I think that was important to Kobe. And Kobe wanted, he had lofty goals set for himself. And in a game that, there's statues of people outside of arenas that are there. And there's a reason those statues are there. They honor the people that they think make the biggest contribution. And I think Kobe wanted to leave a mark, and he wanted to prove that. And once again, Kobe went from high school to the pros.
Yeah.
He skipped that those 4 years, 3 years, or whatever that I think all players should get.
Yeah.
I'll tell anyone, college, if it's in your psyche, it's the best 4 years of your life.
Yeah.
I think the relationships that you meet, the levels of competition. See, I always wanted to be the college player of the year. Right. That was a goal of mine. Also, winning a national championship. And see, in those days, only 32 teams made it. And
Yeah, right.
And in the Big Ten, if you weren't Big Ten champion, there's no, that was it. You packed your uniforms and mothballs, and your season was over till October again.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
so that's where that was go. But Kobe wanted to retire, I think, at the top of the heap. And if it wasn't at the top of the heap, it's not like it wasn't important, because knowing him, he didn't take days off either.
Right.
He showed up. He was there. He was accountable because he wanted to be the best.
Yeah. And the thing that I can always remember too about Kobe and hearing stories, I mean, he would seek advice from whoever he could draw from to get to that goal, to being the best, whether it was coaches, whether it was other players, whether it was Michael himself. I mean, you got to love a guy with that kind of ambition and tenacity. Well, that Mamba mentality, you see that book over my shoulder, and it's just a reminder every day of how he did it. And he put in the work, Coach. He put in the work.
Yes, he did.
So God rest his soul, because he was going to do great things after basketball. And it's too bad that he was tragically taken from us. But boy, I tell you what, some great life lessons can be learned from both of those men that you were blessed and fortunate and able to coach and work with.
To work with.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I'm not sure how much I taught them, but once again, that's one of the great things about Michael. People say, Michael. I said, Michael allowed us to teach him. I don't think we told Michael 10% of what he didn't know. But he never once came over and gave you one of these, what are you telling me this for? Don't you think I know that? It was like, hey, it's always like another adventure. And when your best player accepts those types of challenges, gives you that type of leadership, hey, man, right, this is important. Let's get this right. Those are things that, as a teacher, you really appreciate, because that sets the tone, it sets the tempo.
Yep, helps set the culture.
There you go.
You betcha. And matter of fact, I was fortunate, Coach, that Keith Smart allowed me to come out with the Golden State Warriors when Steph Curry was just a rookie. And I saw those same tangibles where he was very selfless. He was very humble. He allowed you to coach him. And again, not that I was able to share much with him, but yet he still asked, and he sought that advice and wisdom and expertise from wherever he could get it. And again, now you've seen someone who's transforming the game with his work ethic, even though a lot of people said he's too small, he's not a true point, you can't play the two. And yet, the game is transformed because of his work ethic as well. Coach, tell us about, with the franchises, and again, performance reflects leadership. And again, you had great leadership with the Bulls. You had great leadership with your Lakers. What was it like being out there on the West Coast, working with those Lakers and building that Laker team, and also helping Coach Phil Jackson, get that franchise to the next level? Was it very similar to how you built the same process in Chicago?
No, not at all.
Okay. Love it. Okay.
Coming to LA in 99, 2000 was, it was deep. Thank God for Ron Harper.
Yeah. Oh, veteran. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Derek Fisher was like a sponge, not knowing how good Fish would ultimately be. But once again, you had the dedication and the work habit.
Yeah, coming from Arkansas, Little Rock, Derek Fish, D-Fish, yeah.
And competitor, people talking about, a little bit undersized, couldn't shoot it well enough, or, there's always something that, I guess good players kind of carry a chip on their shoulder. When people tell them they can't do something, they got that I'm gonna prove you wrong button.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But we also had good veteran leadership. Robert Ory. Robert Ory was
he doesn't get enough credit. He can shoot.
Because Robert could rub you sometimes the wrong way, but you knew that was just Robert being Robert. But see, you got to get to know Robert. That's Robert being Robert.
Yeah.
Robert was a very good player.
Yeah.
You know,
And you had the big diesel. You had Shaq out there.
well, yeah, but
Wow, there's a whole another set of skill sets right there.
But he had been injured with some type of abdominal strain, and he missed some games, and that brought some worrisome about how healthy he would be, and how much support he would need to lie. And once again, was he going to come? Was he going to show up every day? And all this and all that. So that's another melodrama.
Yeah.
That's 2 or 3 programs.
Yeah, that's another 30 for 30 that's going to be coming in a few years, I'm sure. Oh, yeah. and you got to live through them both, Coach. You were in those environments. You were on the court with them. You were there with the staffs, and wow, I think of so many afternoons where Coach Tex Winter was so good to me and allowed me to come around, because Jody Gardner, we brought those free agent teams into El Segundo and we practiced against your Lakers. And those were some great times and great memories. Cause again, you guys working and on the details and, working your triangle offense, man, that was just some great times teaching the game of basketball to some young players, that wanted to get better.
Jody Gardner, that's a name out of the past now.
Yeah, that's it. I haven't heard from him in a while, but I was just lucky that he contacted me because we were having success overseas, and he allowed me to coach that free agent group, and we had a lot of fun. And man, it was yourself and Kurt Rambis and Tex Winter and Bill Burtka. Man, for a young coach, man, I was like a kid on Christmas Eve. I was just excited to be in there and learn as much as I could from everybody. So I've always been humbled by that.
There's a lot of basketball knowledge when you go to see Burtka. My rookie year, Burka's from Ohio,
yeah,
up around Akron, and so my rookie year, coach was in those days was only basically one scout out there doing all the advanced work and also looking at college personnel.
Yeah.
So those were the days. So we always had something in common. Somebody told me last week that he's still working.
Wow.
I thought he retired by now, but they said he's still with the organization. So God bless him.
Well, I was thrilled to see that the NBA Coaches Association last year in Vegas gave Bill Burtka the Tex Winter Award for the assistant coach. And coach, that was I got goosebumps seeing that. So that was fun to see. And again, there's a lot of great times out there at that NBA Summer League, because again, you and I got to sit together and talk and chat and bounce ideas off each other. And again, I can't thank you enough for those times, because it's always great to be surrounded by great people.
Like I say, somebody allowed me those opportunities. And one thing in a relay race, what do you do with the baton? You pass it forward.
There you go. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I know you're getting ready to run off and go catch some dinner, but do you have any last words that you can share with our viewers here tonight that's just something that you truly, feel strong about, that because I wish we need to have you back on demand again, because this has been such great nuggets. But any last parting words you want to share with us before you run off to dinner with your family?
Well, I think to be successful in anything you do, you got to do it from the heart.
Ooh.
I think so often coaches are not teachers.
Oh, yep.
And I think that
overcoached and undertaught the game.
Well, one of the first things I tell anyone is who wants to go into the teaching / coaching industry is have a plan. And if you're successful to be named an assistant, one of the things down at Furman University, I was a volunteer coach.
Yeah, that's how I got my start too. Yeah.
I've been blessed enough, and then the first day of practice, the manager quit. So guess who the manager was?
Yeah.
I've been blessed enough to hold every position, volunteer, part-time, assistant, head. I know how to run a program.
That's right. That's
But
right.
the same point in time, each year is a different year, to the young coach, especially if you're really a neophyte, I tell you must learn how your team learns.
Great point.
And that's the I think one of the best things I could tell a young coach. Find out how your team learns,
Mm-hmm.
and then construct your practices and your talks and whatever your model of passing on information, gear it towards your team,
That's
because
right.
they're the ones that you're asking now to learn and produce, and you can't produce and learn at the same time.
Yep.
It has to
Yep.
be, one has to follow the other one, and they can't be afraid to make mistakes. I
Right.
think all too often we as uh, role examples, as models, we get so upset, so bitter at times, so emotional that the kids. I said,
Yeah.
knowing how I learned. My high school coach, when I was in the 8th and 9th grade, I used to go watch his teams play, and I didn't want to play for him because he was he was an in your face kind of guy.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And by the time I played on the 10th grade team and saw him every day, I realized that he wasn't like that all the time. But there were times that he did lose it. But I'm gonna use the word fearful of playing for him, because he would become this raging, almost maniac, in your face, boom, 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 boom. I'm saying
Sure.
I don't want to play for a coach like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But once again, you play like you practice, and you practice like you play.
Yep.
And so in practice, your practices are far more important
Yo,
than
you
the
better
game.
believe it.
I know coaches are hired to be fired, and our successes keeps us employed.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't teach them the correct way in practice, they will not execute come game time.
That's
So
right.
you gotta. So who are you as a teacher? Who are you? If that was your kid out there, would you be in your kid's face every time he had
That's
a
right.
turnover, missed an assignment? At some point in time, there has to be some rationale, some accountability to coaches and teachers' behaviors toward the people that they're trying to reach. So I say, so let's balance that off. Now, once again, it's still point. I tell you, you got to coach yourself. You have to coach your
Yep.
temperament.
Yep.
But there also should be a line in there that you don't cross.
There you go, Coach. I agree with you 100%. Matter of fact, and when here's another story that you may not remember. I'm going to jog your memory here. You were the head coach of the Dallas Mavericks, and I was blessed to work with a guy that you had in the Mavericks camp, Ace Custis, who came over and played for me in Lebanon, and he sang your praises constantly for giving him that opportunity coming off of that ACL that he had. And Ace Custis preaches Coach Jim Cleamons, because how you treated him as an individual and as a person, and that connection and relationship and trust that you had within each other. And he's always been thankful for that.
Okay, well, tell Ace that's a while ago.
That's been a
Okay.
minute. You're right.
Yes,
You're
yes.
right.
Okay. All
But
right. Well,
Coach,
thank you.
yeah, sir. Listen, I honored and blessed to have had you for this time. I thank you for your selflessness. I thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom and expertise. Any franchise would be lucky to have you on that bench to share that knowledge for coaches, for younger coaches for development, and then also for those players to teach them the right way.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Coach, God bless you. Stay safe, stay healthy, and let's get you back on the show again sometime soon.
All right, be my pleasure.
You betcha. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Coach Scott Fields with another edition of the Coach Scott Fields Show. We are honored to have had Coach Jim Cleamons share his journey and his insights with you here tonight. Coach, I can't thank you enough. Be blessed. Have a great dinner, and let's break bread together soon as this COVID-19 calms down, my friend.
All right. Peace to you.
You bet. Peace, brother. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for watching another edition of the Coach Scott Fields Show. Like, react, send comments, ask questions. We're going to get back to those. But again, I can't thank Coach Jim Cleamons enough for sharing this time with us tonight. Be blessed, Coach. Thank you.
Thank you.